What is going on, guys? It is your host and league commissioner Trent, and it is officially playoff season. Let's get it. We got some playoff breakdowns, breaking down the playoff matchups this week, and we also have your studs and bums. So let's get right into it. Kicking things off, we got your bums of the week coming in at number 3. We got Miles Sanders once again on this list. I believe it's back-to-back weeks now. Only 3.1 fantasy points. They only gave him 10 attempts in a solid matchup against the horrible Green Bay Packers run defense. They only give their running back 10 carries for 31 yards. I don't know what they're doing in offense, but it looks like they're making a change since they are going with Hurts. Let's see if it'll help Miles Sanders, though. We'll have to see. I mean, this is pretty much it for Noah right here. I don't know if he's going to end up starting him this week in first round of playoffs, but we'll have to see. In at the number 2 spot, we have Derrick Henry with 5.9 points, I should say. He had a fumble, 1 catch for 9 yards, and only 60 rushing yards against a solid Cleveland Browns D. They haven't been the best, but they're also not that bad at all. It seemed like they were just locked in on Derrick Henry the whole game. Could not let him get going, and almost cost James the game. But James still ended up pulling it out. Coming in at the number 1 spot in the bums of week 13. This one hurts so bad. It's Justin Herbert. Tough game against the Patriots. I mean, I should have known going into it that Bill Belichick's really good against rookie quarterbacks, but I really had nothing to lose going into this last week, so I just played him. And he dropped his lowest point total of the season, 4.36. Still not as low as Tom Brady's 2 points, but definitely not a great outing for Justin Herbert this last week. And now it is time for your week 13 studs. Coming in at number 3, we have Derek Carr, and props to Andrew for going back to Derek Carr this week in a game that pretty much meant nothing. He was still out there trying to win this last game. Derek Carr with 31.74 fantasy points. Dude tore it up against the Jets. I mean, it is the Jets, but still, 31 points. It's still pretty hard to do as a quarterback. 381 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Did throw an interception. He also had a touchdown run in there. Props to Andrew for sticking with Carr and the matchup, I should say. Coming in at the number 2 spot, we have Devontae Adams. He claims another victim, dropping 34.1 points on Daniel. 10 catches, 121 yards, and 2 touchdowns against that trash Eagles defense. I don't know, man. If I'm Brendan, I'm scared. Devontae Adams, absolutely insane, man. He is just knocking everyone off on the checklist. Only people he didn't really tear up are the games that he missed. But other than that, he's been on fire, and maybe he might be able to lead Brian to a championship. And coming in at the number 1 spot, we have one more player from Brian and Daniel's matchup last week. We got Darren Waller. I know. 2 Raiders players on the studs of the week. I almost didn't do it just because of that, but got to give props where props are due. And Darren Waller, 13 catches, 200 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Those are Tyreek Hill numbers, man. He had a great matchup against the Jets, and almost got Daniel the win, but Brian's roster was just too much for Daniel to handle. I mean, you had your playmakers, Dalvin Cook and Darren Waller, just put up points, and the rest of the team, I mean, did all right to not so good. So Daniel will be watching the playoffs at home this season. Now it is time to get into these playoff matchups. Here we go. First off, we got James and Trent versus bye weeks. But seriously, I'm probably just gonna be like playing my players and just like competing against James, even though I'm not actually playing him, and just seeing if I can get more points than him. Just seeing, should be fun. But seriously, let's start off with the number 4 and number 5 seed. heading into these playoffs. Head-to-head records. Greg is 2-1 against Noah since Noah joined in 2018. They actually didn't even play last year, or else more games would be on this head-to-head. And top scorers, Greg's top scorer is Kyler Murray with 307.98 points. And then we have Ryan Tannehill for Noah. Noah picked him up off of waivers, 246.08 points for Ryan Tannehill and Noah. Well, it looks like Noah's rolling with Tannehill going into playoffs. Great matchup against Jacksonville. Probably going to end up being the highest scorer on Noah's team. Maybe not. He has some stud wide receivers. Most points for each playoff contender here. Greg's most points in the regular season was 130.54. Pretty low for most points. I mean, he's never really had that boom week. So I guess you could say he's gotten pretty lucky in terms of points allowed. The fact that the most points he's put up is 130 and he's won 8 games. I believe, let me double check. Yeah, yeah, 8 games. And so, I mean, that's pretty lucky. Not Brendan levels of luck, but still fortunate enough to get that 4 spot in the playoffs. And then you see here Noah's most points, 167.62. Not bad, not bad. Definitely a good amount to have for most points. And he barely snuck in this last week with the big victory over Dakota. And judging by the way this season has gone, if you're trying to beat someone to get into playoffs, Dakota's the team you want to beat. That's the team you want to play going into the last week of the season. And then you look at their point averages. Greg has averaged 114, and then you have Noah, who has averaged 121. Both pretty decent numbers. I mean, we're in PPR, so as long as you get over 100, I'd say it's a pretty decent week. Um, but yeah, no. And my prediction this one, I think I'm going to go Noah here, 138 to 122. I just think Noah's receivers are just too big of a factor. I mean, Greg has great receivers too. But ultimately, it's going to come down to the running backs. And if Noah decides to go with Miles Sanders, he's pretty much putting his trust back in that Eagles offense. Different quarterback, though, Jalen Hurts. So we'll see. Teams might be stacking the box just to force Hurts to throw it. But he's a really solid player. So, and we'll have to see. I mean, Kyler Murray's arm injuries has certainly affected him, and you can tell he's not running as much, which is the reason why Kyler Murray has not been putting up that many points for Greg these last 2 or 3 weeks. And they're going against a Giants team that is playing really solid defensively right now, and that's pretty much the outlier in my prediction. I just think Noah's going to run away with it, and it's going to come down to Monday Night Football between the Browns and Ravens. Greg has Kareem Hunt going, and I don't know if Mark Andrews will be back by then off the COVID list. So, I mean, that could play a factor in Noah's lineup decisions too. And yeah, I think Noah takes this one 138 to 122. And now it is time to break down pretty much the game of the week. Number 6 seed Brendan sneaks in. 5th straight year in the playoffs for Mr. Brendan, going against the 3rd seeded Brian and the scary duo of Alvin Kamara and Devontae Adams. Head-to-head records since Brian joined. I think he joined in 2017 when I was looking at it. But head-to-head records, they've played 6 games and they're 3-3. Against each other. So, I mean, this one's pretty much a toss-up. You look at Brendan's highest scorer this season, it's been Deshaun Watson, who it doesn't look like he's rolling with this week. We'll still have to wait on that tough matchup against the Bears. 276.68 points for Deshaun Watson this season. I believe that's top 10 scoring in the league so far. And then you look at Brian, of course it's Alvin Kamara. I mean, Devontae Adams would probably be, I mean, Devontae Adams is near him, but he'd probably be ahead of Kamara if he didn't miss any games. But Alvin Kamara, 280.8 fantasy points. Pretty good, pretty good. Then you look at Brendan's most points this year, 144.18, averaging 115.18 points a game, a little bit more than Greg is averaging. each week. And then Brian's most points per game, 167.04, averaging 132 points. Pretty good by Brian. You just know what you're going to get every week going against him. And if I had to make a prediction, I'd have to say Brian wins 148 to, let's go with like, I want to go a little bit above the average here for Brendan, just in case Josh Jacobs plays. And let's go 132. 148 to 132. And I think Brian takes this one. That Kamara and Adams tandem, both with solid matchups, is going to be crazy. And I don't know, man. That Bears defense has been a little bit struggling, I should say, lately. And if he doesn't go with Watson here, then it'll be interesting to see, because that game is at 11, and then Taysom Hill plays in the afternoon. So we don't know if Drew Brees will be back yet. There's speculations that he would be back. I think it's going to be a close call for sure. They're saying he's pretty much not ready to go, but he's definitely someone to watch out for in this matchup. If Breeze plays, Kamara gets a big boost. But if not, I mean, Taysom Hill is pretty much taking Kamara's production. And then, of course, you have Brendan might be missing Josh Jacobs again. But he does get James Conner back. So, I mean, which is pretty solid. It's going to be pretty solid for him in his running back group. If his touchdowns don't get vultured like they have pretty much all season long. And then you look at Brian's side. Brian has a great wide receiver trio. I mean, he hasn't had Galladay all season pretty much, and Deontay Johnson has played in an amazing role for Brian. And then Justin Jefferson's probably up there with Rookie of the Year next to James Robinson and Justin Herbert, and possibly Joe Burrow if he didn't get injured. But we'll have to see. Tom Brady has a great matchup for Brian against the Vikings, who have also been playing pretty well, similar to the Giants. Their defense has been stepping up the last couple of weeks, aside from last week, actually, where they almost lost to the Jaguars. And then you got Jonathan Taylor, who's looking like he's back to his early season self, averaging about 15 points a game, which is kind of where he was at when the season started. And then, Devontae Adams will always be a factor. I think tight end has been Brian's biggest problem this season, aside from, Tom Brady not being as consistent as he should be with that offense. But tight end has definitely been a struggle for Brian this season. And, he can either go Ingram or Smith here. They both have decent matchups. So it's just, whichever one he decides on. And, this is gonna be the game of the week right here. This is gonna be one that everyone should definitely be paying attention to. And I believe I said Brian 148 to 132 in this one. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for your power rankings. I mean, I shouldn't really call that that anymore. I'll have awards. I'll have the award polls up here in a couple of weeks. The week of the championship game, they will go up, and the winners will be announced after the championship game. Not after the championship game, but that week after. So we're closing in on the end of the season here, and it's been a fun ride. No matter what happens, and most of us probably enjoyed this season. It's been tough for a lot of our owners. Out here in this league, and injuries and COVID, and so you know what to do. Just keep grinding, and I hope you guys enjoyed.
I just wanted you to watch me dissolve slow.